Hi friends, it's Jenny, and I cannot believe that I haven't made from the Marie Antoinette John Bead Curiosity Box number 16 since I opened it. I mean, I did make that one bracelet at the end of my opening, and you know what's funny? I'm going to make a bracelet again today, but that's because I have my next box, number 17, the Mistletoe Magic, is on its way to me now. The official unboxing has already happened over on Baby Squirrel Beading. Just like last time, I'm not going to watch Emma's video until after I have done my unboxing. Currently, it is scheduled to get here on Monday. Sometimes I get things a day or two early, but it is December, so who knows? So we've got the new one coming. There were still lots of things that I wanted to play with and make from this box. And I figured I'd start with, even though it's almost done, start with a few of the things that were my favorites, as well as some of the viewers' favorites. Several of you mentioned loving the abalone beads and wanting to see what I did with them. So I'm going to use those today. I enjoyed the colors of these glass pearls, and I thought that I might like to play with these. And then when I did the unboxing, I thought this was a brooch. It's actually a box clasp, and when we did nickel testing on it, we found out that I can use it. And I just think it's so pretty and so iconic and just like a part of this box. So it is a triple strand connector box clasp. It would be wasted on the back of a necklace. I feel like this hardware is a little too pronounced for what I'm going to be doing with it. If you were doing bead weaving and you stitched in here, I think it would cover the hardware a little bit more and might be more appropriate as a focal on a necklace. But I'm not a bead weaver. And so I was thinking I would do a triple strand bracelet and incorporate these things that were some of my favorites from this box. I've got my eye on another project that if we have time, if this goes together smoothly, I might throw in another one at the end here. But right now, I just want to focus on making the bracelet. Maybe some earrings to go with it that incorporate some of the abalone and other items. I am going to pull in some things from my stash. I'm going to go ahead and move the card out of the way. I'm using some 10mm bead caps to go on the larger light green pearls, glass pearls. Just to add a little bit of sparkle, because we do have a lot of sparkle here. I wanted to make sure we were continuing that in other places of this design as well. And then these little smaller, I think these are 6mm bead caps to go on the smaller, although they're not small by any means. I think these are 10mm and the green ones are quite a bit more. But I'm going to be using the bead caps just to kind of polish them up a little bit. And then I am also going to be using, now we'll talk about it when we get to it. I want to put together the first two strands. I had thought that I would do a third strand that matches the second strand, but I looked at it and it would just be such a big chunky bracelet. And I thought that it might lose some of that delicacy. So I have a different idea for the third strand, which I'll actually put as a middle strand, so that we still have 3 strands, utilize all of these loops. You don't have to utilize all of the loops. I also considered, because this is approximately the spacing between the 2 strands when they're right next to each other from top to bottom. But I have an idea for something just kind of light and delicate and sparkly to go right through the middle between the other 2 strands. So let's play around with that idea. Okay, for other materials, I am using extreme silver beading wire. This is medium in 925 sterling silver. It is a silicone and then plated. It's abrasion resistance. This is 19 strands, so it does kink a little bit more, but these beads have enough weight to them. I'm not worried about a little bit of kinking. It's not going to show up when you're wearing the bracelet. So these are sections of beading wire that were excess from other projects that happen to be perfect for bracelet length. So I am going to use those for 2 of the strands, and then I've got my spool here to do the third strand. For tools, I will be using, since I'm doing beading, my magical crimpers. I'm going to be using some Soft Flex 2x2 crimp tubes, and I'm going to be using my Casual Comfort plier set. for opening and closing jump rings, which is how I'm going to attach them to the clasp. I'm not going to attach it directly. I'm going to use some jump rings to do that, just so that it's a little bit easier for me to adjust if I need to. Ran into that before with a 3-strand bracelet. So let's see if I have this figured out. Let's see if I have this figured out. So we're going to use some bead stoppers to do our 2 strands. They're going to come together pretty quickly because I already kind of figured out what would fit, and they come to about the same length. And I prefer my bracelets to fit a little bit loose, and so they are hopefully not going to be too loose once we get the clasp on. We'll see. So the first strand, what I thought of as the main strand is, and I'm just picking and choosing my abalone, just the prettiest ones, you know. Anyway, I'm going to end up using 5 of the abalone ovals and 4 of the light green pearls. And I'm putting the ones that have more of the blue and green on both sides in the center of this bracelet. So that's why these 2 are more in the center, and then this one has the best other color, but it's mostly on one side. So if these ovals get flipped, I'm not worrying about it. So I'm going to go ahead and clip a bead stopper on one end of this beading wire. And I am starting with the abalone oval. And then one of those 10mm bead caps, open side up. I'm just going to put it around this this green glass pearl so that you can see. Get a little bit of this on here so you can see what I'm going with on this pattern. Why I chose the green and why I chose these particular bead caps. I'm using the dish so that it blocks out what's below it and will focus a little bit better. So those are what I'm choosing. They are flowers, but I feel like they're going to add that little bit of sparkle that we need without being, you know, sparkle, sparkle. I don't want to take too much away from the abalone. So yeah, that is the goal for this strand. So these nice abalone ovals accented with a few of the green glass pearls so that they kind of bring out some of those blues and greens from the abalone itself. Thought that would make a very nice strand on a bracelet. So I'm just getting these other ones on here. Look how pretty this is. I mean, if you don't stop to admire the abalone, what's wrong with you, right? They're so pretty. Oh, I forgot the bead caps on that one because I got distracted by the abalone. It's what happens. There is going to be a link to the John Bead Friends and Family website, which is where you can sign up for the Curiosity Box, because it is a vintage bead collection. It is by necessity limited. The last I looked, there are no subscriptions available. In fact, the next box that comes after Mistletoe Magic, which is called Aurora Borealis, is already marked as sold out, but it does look like there is a couple of the Mistletoe Magic boxes and possibly the Creep It Real from October that showed available last I looked. But I'll have a link in the description. That link is going to go to the page where you'll see both if subscriptions are sold out or not, and which collections, previous collections, may not be sold out. It'll tell you that it's sold out, like it'll say the word sold out if there are no more. But sometimes they get some extras after they've finished shipping and delivering and stuff like that. So it doesn't hurt to go in and check. But here is strand number 1. Okay. And to give you an idea on my wrist, it goes about here, and we do have a large clasp. So I think that's going to fit just, I think that's going to be fine, especially with room to crimp and jump rings. I think we're looking at the right length for this strand. Then for the other strand, I'll do the same thing, put a little bead stopper on one end. And this time I started with the abalone on the last one. These abalone take less space, but there's more of them. No, there's not more of them. I'm using 5 as well, but I'm using 6 of the pearls. So there's more pearls than abalone on this one. It just covers the space better. And this time I am using these smaller bead caps. I'll show you what those look like with the rectangles. And again, I'm going to be choosy about the order that I do these, just so that I have the prettiest ones with the most color right in the middle. Because some abalone has more, I mean, this is, don't get me wrong, this is pretty, but some of it is more on the taupey side and has less of the color. So I'm choosing the ones that have more of the color to go in the middle. That's probably the better way to put it. Not that they're prettier, they just have more color. And that's where I want them. So for this one, what we're doing with this, again, the bead caps are there to add a little bit of bling, but not distract from the abalone, because we definitely have a statement clasp. So this is the pattern on strand number 2. I love that blue color. It's a really deep kind of royal blue, and I like that a lot. And I am going to have 1 oval and 5 of the abalone left afterwards as well. Oh, I guess I could be extra choosy because I'm not using all of the abalone. I was going to do 2 strands that were all abalone. I'm going to back this up and get them that have more color. So I need a total of 5. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, and I think I like this one. Look at that. Look how pretty that is. I mean, they're all unique and beautiful, but I just remembered I am not doing an even divide. I started to when I was playing with the configuration of this, because I wanted to see if my plan would work, if the length would be right. I don't often plan ahead. A lot of times, as you know, I will just play with the beads and design on the strand, and I do like to do that, but I was feeling nervous about doing this with the three connector box clasp. I didn't attach anything yet, but I did want to do some of the playing and figuring on length before I got the camera rolling. Maybe I'm vain. I just didn't want to be wrong in front of everybody. Not tonight anyway. Not sure what time you'll see this. We've got several projects that both Becky and I are working on, and we're just publishing them as they and we are available. So you might see a couple of makes on our channel in one day. That's not a big deal. We've just both got things that we're wanting to make, and we're just not going to publish right on top of each other because we can see if someone has something uploading. But this will probably post, I'm recording this Wednesday night, actually Thursday morning. This will probably post on Thursday. I'm just not sure what time. But I do a lot of my beading at night. Not always, but I often do. It just seems to be when I kind of get settled enough in my brain to be able to work on it. That's the idea anyway. All right, we are almost to length on this one. Yep. Should have one more of the blue pearls. then I'll clip this one, and then we're going to talk about that third strand. I did not do a dummy of the third strand, so I haven't figured that one out yet. I've got some components from my stash that I want to play with. Get this bead stopper here as well. And this one on my wrist, again, you're going to see a little over an inch. But this, like I said, is a large clasp, and I'm going to be doing jump rings and things like that. If I need to add a little bit to one of these strands, that's okay. I don't want to mess too much with trying to figure a different order when this looks so nice and is so pretty like this. So this is strand number 2. But when I was playing with it, you know, here's strand number 1, here's strand number 2. This is already starting to get to look to be kind of a full wrist. And when you look at the size of the clasp in relation to these strands, it feels like it's the right size already without adding another bulky strand like this blue one, which was my original idea. And you can see those strands are spaced almost exactly to be on the outer edges. But I thought, how fun would it be to go ahead and do a third strand, but go completely different? Use the same colors, but not have chunky glass pearls or big abalone. So we're gonna play with a little something. Now, I know that these seed beads, these are 11-0 check glass seed beads. They are round Rocal beads. And they are crystal with like a silver line. So they're a silver lined crystal. I really like to use these. They have a lot of sparkle to them, and I want to have that line of like sparkle that runs through that is going to make you think of the clasp. So I'm going to do this one. I also have in my stash these little pale green check glass pearls and these kind of blue with a rainbow iris color on them of these darker ones here. I don't know if they'll fit on my medium beading wire. I don't have a whole lot of fine. If they don't fit, then I'm just going to do a simple strand of seed beads. But I want to play with the idea of having these little bits of color, but all of the beads on this strand be a really delicate. Okay, this is not wanting to come off, and I don't want to spill everywhere. Come on. I use these all the time. These are a Preciosa check glass seed beads. Okay. All right, spill out some of those. Whoop. Probably more than we need, but that's okay. Just going to get all of these other ones out so that we've got everything that we're working with. These are 3mm pearls. I think they both were 3mm pearls. Yeah, they're both 3mm pearls. So they are small, and I might struggle with getting them on the beading wire a little bit, but we'll see. So now I'm going to string on the spool because I'm going to be just developing a pattern. Now, one of the reasons that I chose this beading wire is that if you look at it, it has kind of this kind of pearly sheen to it. It's 925 sterling silver, but to me, it doesn't look that silver. It looks more like a pearly white, and I really like it. So if we start with some seed beads, just start with a decent number of them because I don't have a whole lot of the pearls. So if they work, they're not going to be starting right on one end. We'll do like 5. Let's do 7. I can always change it. Okay. And then I have more of the blue than I do the green. The blue fit, so that's good. And I just want to have little hints of those colors in this pattern. Just like we've got the pearls themselves spaced out on the other 2 strands. I was thinking maybe we do a pattern where we get 3 silvers and we alternate possibly between the check pearls. It just has a little bit of finish on the end. That's the thing that can sometimes make it so you can't get through. You know what? I am going to do something real quick. I do have a pin that I can use, and I can punch through. Like this is the one I was working on. If this works. Oh, that's not quite. That's too big of a pin. Too big of a pin. I thought that it would work, but it doesn't. I'm just trying to poke through that finish because it just needs a little bit of a poke. So this one works. So I'm going to pause this video real quick, poke through all of these to make sure that they've got clear holes, just so that you don't have to waste time with me doing that part. So let me make sure that my materials are good, and then we'll come back for some more stringing as we figure out this design, this pattern for the middle strand. Okay, I'm back, and you might see little pale green pearl glitter on my mat from clearing those holes, but these have clear holes. The blue ones actually didn't need it because they're already clear. I don't see coating that has gone inside those, so that's just something I'll be dealing with on the green ones. So now that we've done that, let's get back to stringing this. So right now I start with 7 of the silver lined seed beads. This is silver lined 11 O's. And then I have one of the blue ones. And then I'm putting on one of the pale green ones. And then let's see how we want to do this. So I kind of do want to do like little groupings. I'm going to test this first. So the idea that I have is to do, and I'm going to snip off the end of this wire because it got a little bit kinked, and that's awkward to do when you're picking up seed beads. And also if you snip your wire at an angle, if I can hold this still long enough, if you snip your wire at an angle like this, it makes it a little bit pointed and it makes it easier to pick up seed beads with it. Just a little tip that I learned from Becky, and I think she learned it from Danielle Wicks. So, you know, just one of those things. All right. So what I'm thinking is using 3 11-0s in between the 3mm pearls. I'm going to do like a blue and then a green and then a blue. So we've got these 3 together. Oh, that's pretty. And then to give a little bit of a space so we're not just getting all stripy, not that there's anything wrong with stripes, but I'm not really doing stripes on this one. And also kind of give that similar spacing that we have elsewhere. I'm going to put on another 7 seed beads. So we've got 3 in between and 7, that's 6, 7 between the groupings. So let's see what that looks like here. Get another one of these blue ones, 3 11-0s, a green one. And they do still take a little bit of work, but they do have clear holes and they can go on. So most of them will go on just fine, especially now that I've gotten that kink out of the end. It's like, we want to go another way. All right. And then this, I want to see if this spacing makes me happy. I think it does. I think it does. So the green is very pale, so it doesn't really stand out. And so what we're doing is our blue beads are actually almost exactly the same space apart. You see that? And then we've got the green ones. And then we've got the green ones that are still there, but they're just like, they're adding a little bit of dimension more than they are adding color. I am liking this configuration, and I'm going to keep going. I think the only thing that I might think about, and that's why I'm going to do a little bit more, is I might make it a longer section of seed beads between the colors. But again, this is a bracelet, so we only have so much space that we're covering. I want to get another repeat on and see if it's still making me happy or if it looks too regimented. just because the blue is the darker color, and it's the one that we see almost but not quite equally spread. I think it's going to be nice though. I think it's going to be nice. We're going to get another repeat. So that was the 7 seed beads that separated our pattern. So we do blue, 3 11-ohs, 3, not 4, green, three more 11-ohs, and a blue. And then I'm going to get those other 7 on the other side of that blue just to get another look. Make sure this is still what I want. So here we go. Guys, I like it. I like it. I like it. It does just that little hint of the green. It is a similar toned green to what we have. Not an exact match, but similar toned. But I think this is going to be really pretty. Let me move these for just a moment, just because I'm about to drag strands through here. So here we have our 2 strands. And then imagine, if you will, this between them. Just a soft little hint of something. Yep. This is what we're doing. Okay. It's definitely a different proportion, but like I said, the spacing with the clasp, I feel like if we have a 3rd strand, either we leave that one empty, which might look weird, or we have a 3rd strand that is very minimalist. And I think that this is what we want. Let me just check. Okay, just checking length. So I'm going to get close to the right amount, and then we'll test it. What is that? So it's not going to be a standout. It's not going to be like a feature of the design, like a prominent part. But I think it's going to be a nice accent. I considered just doing a stretch of chain along there, and I'm like, or I could do a really pretty finely beaded strand. And that to me sounded like it fit better with the overall aesthetic of the bracelet. I didn't feel like a chain quite would do what we wanted to do. Could it? Yes. But I think that this will be interesting and I don't know, maybe a little bit different. It's not something I've seen a whole lot, having a 3-strand bracelet and having one just so distinctly differently sized than the rest, intentionally. Usually you have a kind of a big chunky one and then a couple of more medium but still distinct strands on either side of it. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with that format. Just trying something a little different. That was only 3, so I'm getting on the 4, 5, 6, and 7. I don't think that's reading as stripy. I like it. It works. I do like it better than the alternating back and forth, but it gives the appearance of alternating back and forth. I'm just not. Putting in just a touch of that green. To those who were looking forward to seeing what I would make with these beads, I'm sorry that it took so long. This month has been a weird one. Last month is the one where I was traveling for 2 weeks out of it, and I felt like the first week or two of this I was playing catch up, and then of course in the US it was a holiday month as well. And just, there's a lot of things that I have been wanting to make with that I haven't been. I just need to get a little bit more organized. But these were the beads that I wanted the most to be able to play with here. Okay, I'm gonna finish off with the 7 seed beads on the other side of this blue one, and then I'm going to compare this with the other. Actually, I'm going to put this around my wrist because it is a more delicate strand. It's not going to need as much space, but it is still going to be attached to the other ones. So I have to keep those things in mind when I'm figuring out the sizing for this strand. But I think that I am pretty close to the limit. I may have gone a little bit over just because of how fine this strand is. Okay. All right, so yeah, that might be a little bit too long. I do want it to fit loosely, but we do have that large clasp. Here is, I know that this is enough length. I'm not going to want to add to it, so I'm going to go ahead and snip off the end of this wire so that we're not dragging around the spool, putting on another bead stop. I might take off some of the seed beads on the ends. That's one reason why I started with the seed beads, because they are the same number that I have in the middle, but I can shorten the ends of the pattern very easily. So we've got this. Looking at it like this, I think they're pretty close to right. And then this. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to crimp one end of each of these and attach it to the box clasp. And then we'll check the size and make sure I don't need to shorten before I do it on the other end. So we're going to start finishing it, but not finishing it, if that makes any sense. Give me just a moment. Let me clear this other wire out of the way because it was distracting a little. Okay. Let's get out my magical crimper and my crimp tubes. We are going to be using at least 6 of these. Hopefully only 6. But we'll get out a little small pile of crimp tubes. Now, if you have not used the magical crimper before, I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate it. In fact, I'll zoom in a little bit so that you can see this demonstration nice and clear. It is meant to be used with 0.018 to 0.019 inch diameter beading wire, and it only works with 2x2 crimp tubes. Becky and I like to use the Softflex crimp tubes because they are very thick. They've got a nice thick wall. I'm going to show you that here. They've got a nice thick wall and there is no seam. So you're just going to put your crimp tube on and you're going to feed your wire back through. And then pull it to get your loop. Since I'm using jump rings to attach, I'm going to do a very small loop. I can get my jump ring through there and it's not going to take up as much space coming up to the clasp, because I do worry a little bit that this is going to be too big of a bracelet, but we'll see. Okay, because I can always add length by adding jump rings. So the magical crimper has this rounded concavity inside on both jaws. And what you're going to do is you're going to center your tube in that concavity. That's where it's going to form itself into a ball after you do several compresses. So once you've got it centered, give it a squish. You don't have to squeeze hard, just squish it so it's closed. And then open it up, and you'll see that it's pinched down the four corners of that crimp tube. Looks a little bit like a ravioli or a throw pillow, however you want to think about it. And you're going to turn it so that it's straight up and down inside your crimping pliers, so 90 degrees from where you just were. Make sure that it's centered, because we did pull it out and look at it, and give it another squish. And then you're just going to open the pliers a little bit, turn it, squish it, open, turn, squish, and just keep doing that. Open, turn, and squish until you don't have any resistance anymore. And what it's doing is it's compressing all those edges of the tube into a ball, and when it does that, it bites down into the coating on the beading wire. That's what makes this a really strong crimp, is because it does this. So then I just take this and I just snip off the end of the beading wire. Nice secure little crimp. So that one, we've got one crimp done, and I'm just going to do that same thing on these other two to get their first crimp started. And again, I don't need big loops, just big enough I can get a jump ring through. And these are not thick jump rings. So just doing that again. What I'm doing now, because I already pulled it out and showed you the ravioli on the first one, I'm not pulling it out again. I found that it's easier for me to stay centered, keep it centered, because you have to start centered, but you also have to stay centered. It's easier for me to do that if I don't actually remove it from the pliers. I can see a little bit, see kind of where I've got some like wider edges. I'll pull it away and look. Again, if you go back in, just make sure it's centered when you do. And here is our little crimp. So that is one of the things that I do differently. The first one, when I'm demonstrating, I pull it out and show you the ravioli. You get a feel for it. You can feel that it was wrong, that it wasn't lined up right. And so if I know that that ravioli is there, I just keep going. I just keep going. All right, let's get this guy on. And I'll show you when I do crimp the other sides, which we're not doing yet, but I'll show you when we crimp the other sides, one other thing that I do differently on later crimps, when you're crimping on the other side of your work. Here we have plenty of room because we're not finished, so the beads can be hanging out and be out of our way. But you need to make sure that your beads aren't in your way when you're crimping on the other side. And I'll show you some tricks that we do for doing that. All right, I might have made that loop a little bit small. We will see. If I have trouble attaching it, I do have enough room on this wire that I can cut it off and do it again. But I think it's fine. Again, just snip off that extra beading wire. Just like that. Okay, and I've got my little jump rings here that I'm going to be using. Get out some pliers. Okay, so I'm going to be putting on my beading wire. because it's on a spool, it does retain, oh, I dropped my jump ring. It's like, what's my jump ring doing down there? It does retain a little bit of a direction, so to speak. So if you want to, you can make sure that it's bowing the correct way for how you want it to clasp. This one, I don't think is really doing it as much as I thought it was. It only looks like it on this end. So that will straighten out on the bracelet. So just open up your jump ring, put your loop that you just made on, and then we're going to do this one is going to be in the center of our box clasp. Just get that nice and closed. Okay. And then, yeah. And then we're going to do the same with the other two. I'm going to do the larger one below and the more medium-sized one above. Because this is the front of the box clasp, which means this is the prong side. I'm going to likely be bringing this side from here. So when it's on my wrist, I want the bigger piece up here because there's less, oh, I'm still zoomed in. So sorry if some of that was off camera. I fixed it now. I meant to zoom back out after we finished demonstrating the crimping. But what I was saying is that because this is a box clasp, this is where the side that slides in. So I'm going to be using my right hand for this. So when I'm putting it on my left wrist, it's going to be like this. So I'm orienting this so that I have the strands where I want them. And I want the thicker one here on my upper arm. It is a touch longer, I think. And also they're bigger beads. And so there's going to be less interference like as you would get on the other part of your wrist. So that's how I'm choosing to align mine. So putting this don't mind me. It just slipped off. I might be feeling a little bit tired. It is 2:30 in the morning. That's actually not that late for me. But I didn't sleep as well last night. I didn't get to sleep until after 5, and my husband had left for work and brought the dog into me, and she decided to lay close and was snuggling. And you know how it is when you have a dog and they're snuggling, the last thing you want to do is disturb them. That's how it was all night long. So, well, all morning long for me. I just, every time that I needed to turn over, I did it as carefully as possible so that I wouldn't jostle my dog. She's an older dog, and she just slept and slept. Okay. All right, this feels like it's going everywhere. It is. Spoiler alert, it is. Okay, so then I'm going to do the other one over here. And then I'm going to cinch all these beads down and see how this sits on the bracelet mandrel. I've done a lot of measuring against my wrist, but where we're doing all the different strands and they're all going to sit differently, and because they're connected, they'll sit differently, I'm going to switch to the bracelet mandrel for the next measurements. Come on. Okay. Okay, moving these. Where did the little blue one go? 1, 2, there it is, because I'm going to want that. Okay, so scooting the beads down, this is where I'm going to be a little bit tricky, okay? I am going to fake finishing it. I'll show you what I mean in just a second. So I'm going to take these strands and I am going to, so if this goes in this way, then these attach here. Yeah, so then it needs to attach here. Okay, so I am putting the strand through where I'm going to be attaching it later, and then I am crimping it, not crimping it, clamping it with this guy on the other side of it, because there's going to be room to make the crimp and use a jump ring, but this is going to give me a closer idea how it's going to fit, what size it'll be. See what I'm doing here? Oh, maybe not. It sounded like a good idea. And try something different. Less about clamping that and having room for the clamp, and more about making a fake loop slightly bigger, because again, I will be using a jump ring. So make this a little bit bigger and then clamp the extra wire that's hanging out. That's what I'm going to do so that I can test the fit before I finish it. All this to try to get it right. So, and I think I did it wrong. I think I attached it wrong, because if I have the bracelet here and it loops back up to go here. Okay. Okay, that one is okay. Just making sure I'm going through the correct loop, because if they cross, then that also messes up the approximation of the sizing. So okay. This is probably more awkward than it needs to be, friends. We'll see. We'll see what I end up. This is me experimenting and playing. I think we are just going to make the bracelet today. Just glanced at the time on the clock for this recording so far, and while it's fine, I don't have like a super strong, oh my gosh, I really want to make these earrings. I do have a necklace design that maybe if I have time, I'll put together another video. It doesn't have to be before the mistletoe magic comes, but I get a feeling I might be distracted by mistletoe magic, or I might actually want to use some of the beads from mistletoe magic with this other thing, this other idea that I have. I could see how some holiday colored beads might be nice And with a name like Mistletoe Magic, I'm pretty sure they're going to be holiday colored. No spoilers. Okay. First off, does my box clasp close? And all the strands are the right way. This looks really small. But I like my bracelet to fit close to like a 7.5 inch. And this is getting close. This is closer than the other one that I did. I do feel like I need some length, but like I said, because I'm attaching these, the other one that I messed up on, it was too small and I had attached it directly to the clasp. This time I'm using jump rings, and I can very easily change the size of the jump rings or add additional jump rings to get a little bit more space if when on the wrist I want it wider. But this is how that kind of looks. You can see that it'll just peek through. These guys are definitely going to be the dominant strands. But I don't feel like any of my strands are too loose. I feel like they fit well together. So I am going to take this, get these other guys out of the way because they're messing me up a little bit. Oh yeah, it like snugged those in. We might have some wonky loops, hold on. Okay, get this one loose. And then I'm gonna crimp it. Okay, I told you I would show you one of the things that I do. So when I am doing the last crimp on a strand, you want to make sure that this is kind of curved a little bit because you don't want a stiff bracelet. And you want to scoot the crimp tube as close to that as possible. But then what I do is I put my thumbnail between my bead and the crimp tube. This becomes more obvious why it's needed when we move to the seed bead strand. But this is how we make sure. I'm not actually crimping. I'm holding this so that I can like tug and position the wire. Pull some through because I do need it to be a small loop that's fairly close to that strand. It's pulling loose, hold on. Okay. All right. Too many things. Too many things. Okay, there we go. I'm just gonna crimp this guy right up against these beads, but not leave too much of a gap. I did choose a nice colored beading wire so that if it shows, it's not a big deal. I just don't want an exorbitant amount of strand showing. And because these are chunkier beads, they do need a little bit of room to move. So that is good to go. Let me go ahead and snip this. Because of course I had to do a complicated thing, right guys? Okay, and I'll take this one off here. Before I finish that, I'm gonna go ahead, because I know what position it needs to be on the clasp. I'm putting this in where it needs to go, so I don't have to figure that all out again later. Because this video is already going to be a little bit long. I'm sorry if we don't hit the automatic dubbing mark. I do like to do that, but we can't always. Usually if it exceeds an hour, it is not eligible for automatic dubbing. Oh, dang it. Okay. I didn't quite have it open enough, and I didn't get the clasp position correctly. All right, now I can get that on and then get it closed. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take one off for crimping and get the one that's just been crimped attached with the jump ring so that we don't lose our position. Okay. So here's where it's especially important to make sure that you don't get too close to your beads, because it's that abalone oval is a nice big size, so it wasn't likely to get crunched. But these seed beads, they most certainly would. So folded it over so I get a little bit of space on there, but I am otherwise cinching this guy down. Okay, that's that crimp done. And snipped. Okay, and then I'll take this one off so it's out of our way. Okay. Okay, this is the last one to crimp, and then we'll attach it and have a last look. Okay, let's get this attached. And actually I'm looking, no, it's just gonna be a little bit longer. I was gonna try to come in under the hour, but I don't think that we would really have time. We would feel rushed at the end. I'm not feeling rushed. Okay, this is hopefully finished. Let's get it clasped. Make sure everything looks right. just to see the clasped final version. Doesn't have all the weird stuff attached to it. Oh, that's sitting even higher on my bracelet mandrel. I wonder if I turn it the other way. That's a little bit better. So yeah, I might go and just increase the size of the jump rings. I can do that off camera if I need to. Let's see how it actually fits on the wrist. Wish me luck. Oh, this fits better on the wrist than it does on the mandrel, so that's good. There we go. That fit. I don't need to adjust it. It's not too big. It's still loose enough to be comfortable for me. Got that little bit of pink, or the peak of the like littler strand in there, but all of that beautiful tones on those abalone shells. And that's our box clasp. And this one, sometimes, this one, because I like to wear my bracelet loose, I can't actually get my finger underneath to easily unhook. Becky said that she has a hard time with box clasp sometimes because she can't get the leverage underneath. Since I do like to wear my bracelet loose, and this one fits that way, I can get my finger underneath for an easy release on that box clasp, but it's not going to just come across on its own. So that's the bracelet. Give me just a moment. I've got some beads to clear up off my mat, and I'll do a final look down on the mat like we do. Okay, and we are back. So this design was inspired because I knew I wanted to use the abalone shells, and I also loved this box clasp, this vintage box clasp that came with it. This is all vintage stuff, so like it's just really cool anyway. But I wanted to use the pearls, the glass pearls, the abalone shells. Some of our friends specifically asked for me to design with the abalone shells. Those of you who did, what did you think? What did you think of what I did with it? You know, kind of follow up. I don't know if this is what you would have done or if you did something different, but this is what I came up with, and I think it's really fun. And I like that. See what I mean about how there wasn't really room to do a third strand without just getting too chunky. A third strand like the other one, so I did this one as if it's just like a thin chain strand in between. And it does fit on my wrist the way I like it, with just a little bit of room. It is a little bit harder to clasp on your own. Some of the other ones I'm just not used to it, but it does snap into place like that. And so this is our last look at our abalone bracelet on my wrist. I hope that you enjoyed this. I am looking forward to the next box. I'm also looking forward to the other box that was just announced, the Aurora Borealis. I think that's going to be a lot of fun. And so I'm also looking forward to that. That's the one that's going to ship at the end of December. But I'm still, like I said, I'm still waiting for my mistletoe magic. So if you've already opened yours, no spoilers, because I am avoiding spoilers until after I do my opening. You'll find links, like I said, to John Bead Friends and Family, where you can check the status on whether or not there's subscriptions, as well as if there are any other boxes that are either available to purchase or pre-order. So it's a lot of fun. This has been a fun thing for me to explore some more vintage beads, and it's just, we've been having a good time with it. So anyway, I hope that you liked it. If you liked this video, hit like. If you want to see more, subscribe. And as always, my friends, happy beading, and don't forget to play. Bye. Thank you.